Okay,
releasing
3,
it.
2, 1. Oh wow! Smoky and peaty.
Yep.
This I could do a shot today.
And I'm going to.
Okay,
film
great.
now. Are you ready?
Yes, let's go.
Okay. Whiskey or gin?
Oh, whiskey. Okay. Heard it here first.
Whisky Highness, the music and whiskey pairing podcast you never realised you needed. Good afternoon.
Hello.
And welcome to Whisky High Notes.
Thank you.
So I'm your host, Naomi Belshaw, and thank you for joining me on this new podcast, or this, brand new podcast, which is pairing classical music with whiskey. And thank you so much, Dobrinka Tabakova, for joining me this afternoon. And I guess, I'm choosing quite a few classical people from the classical world to join me in this wonderful room of the Soho Whisky Club to talk about their background in classical music and what they do, and also have a fun afternoon trying a few whiskies with the music they've selected. So you're a composer, really. I say professional composer. I'd love to know a bit more about where you've come from, what's brought you here, and,
You brought me here, and the love of whiskey.
Yes, indeed, yeah.
Yes, I write music for a living, and I was born in Bulgaria, moved to the UK when I was just turned 11, and really my formal composition education has been in the UK. So Junior Academy, then Guildhall, King's College, London, and now just freelance composing.
Wow. And living in London? Oh, yes.
Always London.
Always
yeah,
London.
Yeah.
Yes. So as part of the podcast, I have a fun section at the beginning where I just throw some short fire questions at you. So just whatever comes to mind. And I'm going to.
Okay, great.
Now. Are you ready?
Yes, let's go.
Okay. Whiskey or gin?
Oh, whiskey.
Yeah. Sweet or savoury?
Savoury.
Okay. And Scottish or world whiskey?
Oh, difficult. I don't know enough about the world whiskies. Not that I know so much about the Scottish, but I guess I'm more familiar with Scottish.
Well, I mean, I suppose maybe I've gone more for Scottish today, but there's one part of the world. But actually, across the podcast, I'm choosing different whiskies from around the world as part of it because there are so many exciting flavours everywhere. But I guess I don't want to leave it too long before we try some whiskey and loosen up our wonderful chat. So you chose such an amazing, wonderful array of pieces, and many actually that I've never come across. And I was trying to think where to start, but something that I have known from your music as well is that you do use the accordion from time to time. And one of the pieces you chose, or excerpt of a piece, very short section that we've chosen specifically for this, I'd love you to tell me more about that piece, which is so fraught and tight and small, and has something to do with silence, I think, if I remember rightly. But tell me more and give us the background.
An overview to the choices, full disclaimer. I kind of, knowing that this was going to be a whiskey and music kind of thing, I also was searching for things that might have an interesting whiskey connection potentially. So that was one of my personal thoughts, although some of them were probably way too obvious. So this wasn't one of those pieces. This is a piece by Sofia Gubaidulina, and it's called Silenzio, which is 5 miniatures for bandoneon, violin, and cello. And they're all very short works. Actually, the work I really wanted to play was a much longer and much more substantial work called Fragrant, which is one of her latest pieces for bandoneon. I recently wrote an accordion concerto, and very kind of consciously, I avoided listening to Gubaidulina's pieces around the time that I was writing, because I think she is the grande dame of the contemporary accordion. And I think I've listened to the music previously, obviously, but after I finished the concerto, I came back to her music. And Silenzio was one of the works, as was Frachtwerk, which I really recommend people
I think I'll put that in the playlist that goes along with this, because I've listened to that. Well, that was a beautiful piece.
That's a fantastic piece. I think what she's very good at is creating very big structures, although this is a miniature that we're listening here, but I think it just gives you a taste of the drama that she can create, even within a really pianissimo kind of texture. She can really create drama. I sometimes, if you listen to the larger work, the Frachtwerk, it's almost like it could be a Hitchcock soundtrack almost. There's just so much dynamic and drama. So yes, she's a very special composer who died sadly this year in March, I think. And yeah.
Obviously, it's always difficult to decide what whiskies to choose, especially also to bear in mind with the fact that when you're tasting whiskies over an afternoon, you don't want to start with the strongest one.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And then you don't have the palate for anymore. So I guess I went with a Speyside whiskey, which tends to be the lighter whiskies. And I'll just attempt to show the camera. There we go. And this one just in case. There we go. There we go. So Linkwood is a whiskey, or rather, yeah, it's a whiskey flavor profile I quite like. But Linkwood is a distillery where more of the whiskey is used in blended whiskies, and it's particularly known for being used in Johnny Walker or a couple of other blends. I think White Horse as well. So there was a whole period where you really couldn't get hold of much Linkwood, but there are other independent bottlings which have Linkwood casks involved, and I tend to rather enjoy those. So I wanted to pick something that had quite a lot of depth, but would be more likely to be floral and citrusy and light to start a whiskey tasting. So so this is from their Flora and Fauna range, which I think was done back in the 90s, but it's a 12-year-old whiskey.
Wow.
Thank you very much.
Thank
so
you.
yeah, I don't know how easy this one's to get hold of, but I came across it in this club and I thought it'd be nice.
Brilliant.
One. So
yeah.
Now on to tasting whiskey. So how often are you drinking whiskey?
I like a wee dram now and again, especially when it gets colder.
Yes, no, I understand that. So I've spent far too many times doing whiskey tastings and things like that, and actually I have friends who ask me to kind of show them how to drink whiskey. So I do like to follow a process when looking at whiskey and then tasting it. So first of all, a bit like, wine or something like that, look at the colour.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this will probably be non-chill filtered. So you can see it's really quite a wine-like colour, like white wine. And then after that, I like to look at what's called the legs.
The legs.
So I think it's how much of the whiskey kind of stays on the edge of the glass. And you see it's kind of creating a nice coating, but it doesn't drip down very quickly.
It doesn't, no, it's quite oily.
So that suggests, that's
heavy.
right, it's really oily. So sometimes think, does that give me an insight into how much it's going to stay in the mouth when I try a bit and stuff like that? So yeah.
Nice.
So interesting. And then next, aroma.
Okay, and you hold it, kind of
I
slightly
sometimes,
warm it?
well, there've been 1 or 2 tastings I've been to where they suggest to warm it up a bit, just in case it's cold.
Mm-hmm.
Put it in your hand, and then also some people say put your hand over it, so then you can hold it up to your
just get the intensity,
just get the intensity of flavour. Yeah.
Okay, 3, 2, 1. Actually, that works really well. I like that.
Yeah.
I'll do that in the future.
So are you picking up? What notes are you picking up?
Definitely the little citrusy. So there's something woody a little.
Yeah. I think there's still wood and vanilla. That still comes across really nicely. But it's quite homogenized, or my nose needs waking up.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess some sweet notes as well. I don't know, sometimes I get the sense that I'm smelling a Quality Street chocolate or something like that.
And would this have aged in a specific barrel?
I think this is more just in, I think this would be an ordinary kind of oak barrel used for bourbons and things like that from America.
Okay.
So, so I don't think there's been an extra finishing in this one. Yeah.
Yeah, that it doesn't seem too heavy, too full-bodied.
No. So then next, and this is, question of taste, but again, from some of my experiences in the past, I quite like the idea of tasting a little bit and holding it in your mouth for maybe 10 seconds or so. So you really pick up the flavor as it coats your palate before it goes down, and then see how I definitely think when we go to some of the later whiskies, there'll be some surprises.
Okay,
on
great.
that.
Hmm.
Okay.
Hmm.
So, what do you
Wow.
think?
I was expecting it to be kind of punchier, stronger, maybe
Okay.
because I thought I could get some of the alcohol when I was sniffing it, but actually it's much warmer and
Yeah.
rounder.
Yeah, it's quite
than-
it, it's quite mature in the sense that it's got a really a smooth flavor.
Very much.
It's
That's
not
surprising.
yeah, it's not single note or
Mm,
slightly harsh. I find sometimes whiskies can feel
this
slightly
is
one
very
tone,
nice.
and this is actually quite well rounded for, as I say, a whiskey that you don't often
Yeah,
get to try for, I think, under 22 years or something like
yeah,
that
yeah.
as a
I'm
single malt.
surprised. Yeah, exactly. It feels like it's older than 12 years.
Yeah, yeah.
And just a very slight hint of smokiness, just really,
Oh yeah, well,
really.
yeah, very touched. But I mean, I think for me is like it's called the Flora and Fauna range, and you do smell some of those notes,
Mm,
but the whiskey itself is much broader
yeah,
than that.
this is a real discovery.
Yes,
Thank you.
and
Linkwood.
and I hope not too heavy for the
No,
start,
perfect.
but a little bit lighter than where we're going to some of the rest of the
Wonderful.
journey. But
And I
are
think
there any other notes you're picking up other than a tiny bit of smoke? Anything else that you're getting on your?
the vanilla maybe as well, the
Hmm.
sweetness now that, because at the
Yeah,
beginning I felt the citrusy slightly more strongly
yeah.
than when you taste it, the
Yeah, yeah.
sweetnesses.
Well, I find when you actually hold it in your mouth, it seems almost a lot stronger and present than just drinking it and letting it
Yeah,
down
yeah.
directly.
And
Um,
complex. It keeps kind of developing
yeah,
the aromas and the tastes
yes.
for a good few minutes after. It's lovely.
But yeah, I get a bit of woodiness as well. And yeah, I don't know. I just feel it's very well rounded, warming.
It
I would
is.
drink this at the winter time, but I think it is a lighter whiskey to drink earlier in the day.
This I could do a shot today. Keep the doctor away.
A woman of my heart, exactly how I
Yes,
think about whiskey as well.
absolutely. And I think it also goes really well with the piece.
Well, that was it. So I think I did I did try a few different whiskies thinking about what I wanted to
Yeah.
pair with this piece. So particularly this movement you've chosen, which is, I think when I was reading up about the piece, is the slightly more the punchier
Yeah,
movement.
it's the fastest.
But
Yeah, yeah,
obviously a whole piece about silence. But there was something very understated, and he said the pianissimo
yeah.
about it all. But then the way that the accordion instrument
Mm,
comes in,
mm,
and then the pizzicato strings at points. So it was peppery, or there's just a lot going on,
yeah,
but it's not in your face. So I was
exactly.
trying to work
Yeah,
out how I could find a whiskey that was could start a tasting, be light, but not a pushover,
definitely.
and
I
have
think
something more to
that's
it.
exactly it.
So yes, a few whiskies fell by the wayside for not being
Very much.
strong enough, all rounded enough.
It's
And I settled
really
for the
a
Linkwood.
multi-layered piece,
Yeah.
and I feel that the whiskey, like you say, just sort of
Yeah.
opens up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. So let's put this
Mm,
one to. In fact, what I do is I put it in a row, so we
okay.
keep ours with us, and I leave a
Mm,
little bit. That's good, because we're going to have them again later.
mm,
And yeah, again, I was trying to think about the order of the pieces and how I was enjoying things, and had so much arranged, and I don't know. I kind of then was really, I really enjoyed the piece by Takemitsu,
yeah.
and just the way the violin comes across the whole piece. It's very romantic, but something that actually I feel across quite a few of your pieces that you've chosen, especially with strings or particular solo instruments, the way they come across is somehow fragile, but still very present.
Yeah.
And so I know it's a certain style of playing or writing that allows the violin in this that comes through. So you've got that kind of, I suppose, links to French technique and romanticism in some of what's going on, but there's something more haunted
Yeah. Yeah.
going on with that. And I suppose I did go slightly more obvious myself on a pairing. So I chose a Japanese whiskey. Yes.
Brilliant. Thank you.
So we are drinking a Japanese whiskey next, but I really loved the tenderness and strength of the piece.
Yeah.
Another one that I don't know very
Mm.
well. So I chose one of my favorites Japanese whiskies, which I think people drink less of because it's a grain whiskey rather than a single malt whiskey. But it's also been distilled not with a pot still, so it's a different kind of still. But there is something about the Nikka coffee grain that I think it should be drunk more, and it's well priced. So, but it has that steeliness with it. Or I'll be interested to see what you think. So let's move on. I probably go far too fast through these whiskeys. Can't help myself. So yeah, so this is the Nikka coffee grain. I think it tends to be aged for like 10 to 12 years, but I don't think it's on there at all. Yeah, there we go. But it's 45% ABV. I actually probably should have looked at the other one, but I can't tell.
That's 45 as well.
45, so we're staying something similar. But I think this will probably feel quite different and taste quite different from the last one.
Yeah. I mean, the Takemitsu piece is a very early piece of his.
Yeah.
Distance de Fée, which is the distance of the fairy or fairy's distance, and it was inspired by a poem by a Japanese poet. But the reason I chose it, again, there's a secondary or third actually layer to that. First, I was hoping that maybe there might be the possibility of trying a Japanese whiskey. So thank you so much for that. That's really kind. And I don't know much about Japanese whiskey, but I know that they've got a great name for making great whiskies. And the way that I think Takemitsu's life developed was he was self-taught, and he first shunned his culture, the Japanese culture.
Really?
He wasn't really interested. It was he was drafted to fight in the war on the American side, and that's where he was introduced to a lot of Western music on American radio. So that's when he fell in love with Debussy, subsequently Messiaen. And you can hear in this piece, the Distance de Fée, you can definitely hear the French influence, and in so much of his early work as well. The French aesthetic is really obvious, but it's interesting throughout his life how his love of Western music, and it was actually a meeting with Stravinsky that I think opened up some of his. No, I beg your pardon. It was a meeting with John Cage that opened up his embracing of Japanese culture. So it's interesting that as a Japanese-born person, he was drawn to Western music, but then subsequently decided to kind of cross-fertilize the two cultures.
Yeah. So really meld the two disciplines together. Yeah.
And the piece it's a slightly longer piece. It's called Quatrain, which he uses the same instrumentation as the Quartet for the End of Time.
Yeah.
So I was wondering, in this group of pieces, that would have been one of my Desert Island disc pieces.
Yes.
But I thought that the Takemitsu connection with the Japanese and the French and the cross-cultural, which also is something that I have in my music, I thought that those were all subjects that interested me.
I mean, how much do you think about that in your music? Thinking of your own heritage and where you come from, but you spent so much time in the UK. I mean, now very well recognised in the classical scene in Britain, for example. Is it always on your mind linking in with things there, or?
Yeah, I feel aesthetically I've kind of really breathed British air.
Yeah.
But I was born in Bulgaria, and the folk tradition is so strong. But I remember really very much like Takemitsu, just going, this isn't something I'm interested in, because it was there constantly. It was almost like some kind of propaganda. So like the great nation and the wonderful music. And it wasn't until I moved to the UK that I could then appreciate the actual heritage and the beauty of that music and the complexity sometimes of it. So they're subjects that I think about, definitely.
Okay, so with this, as I said, this is maybe not this is not a single malt Japanese whiskey, but I think this is a really great dram. And you're right. I think personally, the Japanese whiskey industry is probably on a par or coming up to where the Scottish the Scottish whiskey industry is in terms of how they're going about creating whiskies and then the flavors they're developing. So Japanese whiskey in the UK tends to be very expensive because of the extra tax costs of bringing it over, but incredibly well respected. And I've tried some crazy whiskies from the 1980s I think they're called Carazal whiskies, which now cost £2,000 or £3,000 a bottle, but they are amazing. So this is on a different level. So this is more kind of your day drinking whiskey, but it's one I come to again and again. And if I ever see it in a pub or somewhere or a small club like this, I'm like, oh yes, I feel like, oh, I'll have a Nikka coffee grain.
And they actually use the coffee grains?
No, so that is a bit of a red herring.
Okay.
That the coffee comes from the name of the person
okay.
who actually created a certain type of distilling. So in the tradition of creating single malt whiskies, you have the pot still, which have these big bulbs at the bottom, and then the way that the alcohol evaporates, it goes up into the column and then comes down. These are more long, thin, just straightforward stills where you can do continuous distillation.
Oh, okay.
And the surname of the guy who invented it was Coffey.
Right. Okay.
But having said that, I'd be interested to see what you feel.
I'm glad I asked before. It's like, oh, I'm really getting coffee in this one. Great.
So anyway, let's have a look at the colour. Now, I think there is a slight difference.
Yes, it's richer.
It's a richer, more golden colour, isn't it? That's interesting.
Yeah. How old is this?
I think it's non-aged. I think it's roughly 10 to 12 years, is what I've read.
So similar
in the background. So similar age, really, in terms of being in the barrels. And I think it might, again, it's probably oak.
Are you allowed to do like clinking?
I mean, I guess that's all right. I mean, if we're doing more ASMR on this, I still need to think about it.
Because it's a good sound.
Yes. It is a good sound.
Actually, the whiskey tumbler sweet. Why not?
Ooh, am I going to do?
I think
yes.
Okay, heard it here first.
So, legs.
Oh, legs, yes.
Legs. I mean, I'd say
the other one feels this is coming down a little more.
I was going to say it's
draggy.
Similar in terms of the way it sticks along the side, but the way the drops are coming down are faster. So somehow slightly less viscous, maybe less oily, but just a touch, because you can definitely still see a nice line.
It's interesting that they almost have a structure.
Yeah,
the way that they come down,
and it's more like lines, almost like you might see in a ribbed glass.
Scratches and
yeah, that's right.
Interesting.
Okay,
I'm not sure I ever noticed that before. I'm getting coffee.
No, well, that's I didn't want to say anything to influence you.
I'm
but
genuinely
there
getting
is a
something.
sense of coffee and chocolate in it.
Yes.
Even though the reason it's called coffee is for another reason.
Definitely am.
Yeah. I think this is mostly a corn grain that's used rather than barley, but it's a mixture. But yeah.
Maybe it's the roasting. Or
maybe
something?
I don't know. But yeah, I do get. No, I've always felt that. I do get quite a lot of sense of coffee, or I'm thinking.
Amazing, yeah.
I don't know whether it's a suggestion.
And much sweeter than.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I can.
I mean, I almost feel like I don't know. It's the smell of like a chocolate mousse or something that I bought from the supermarket.
Yeah,
if you're smelling it, it's kind of got that kind of rich chocolate sweet aroma.
And I'm not getting a punch from the alcohol.
No,
I mean, not that I
not
did
on
with
the
that,
nose,
but it's even milder than the first one.
Yeah. But yeah, it's nice though. I could.
I'm gonna go in.
Yes.
Actually, it's stronger than the first one. My goodness.
Yeah.
But it didn't smell like it would be.
Yeah.
And there's a bitter aftertaste.
I think bitterness. I don't know whether that feels slightly woody or like dark chocolate for me. But
I'm just getting. I'm not.
But it's a lot. It's a lot pepperier for me. So I think that's where I find it fascinates me, drinking whiskey in an afternoon.
Yes.
or just in the process when you're having a time and you're drinking a few whiskeys, that sometimes the first one is so flavorful, does have a punch to it, and you think, oh gosh, and then you try another one, and it's maybe a bit stronger somehow, and then you're like, oh no, actually the other one was nice.
Yeah.
And then it reframes everything.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the context of just like listening, just like us growing up. What kind of context are we?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, that's interesting. I really wasn't expecting the strength.
I mean, some people will say that grain whiskies are like slightly sharper or slightly, harder hitting. And I think there's a certain sense of that, but there is something about this one that is really well rounded.
Very,
And
yeah,
maybe because I like coffee
yeah.
flavor or chocolate flavors, as long as it's not too sweet.
Yes.
I don't like sickly sweetness. Then it's the kind of whiskey that I
Yeah,
enjoy
that's
to have.
another
Yeah,
thing.
yeah,
You smell the sweetness, but it doesn't
no,
come through in the taste. And
no.
um, hmm,
So yeah, so it's, yeah, as I said, it's one of the Japanese whiskies I've been drinking for a few years and come back to.
yeah,
again.
definitely sophisticated.
Yeah.
Very, very nice. Yeah, I'm trying to think how, like, your thought process on that, because the piece is quite ethereal, quite sort of dreamy, and there is a kind of a hug in this
Yeah.
whiskey. There's just something enveloping and warm in it. So I can see.
Yeah, no, that's it. I think there was something about the romanticism of it slightly,
Yeah.
but then I also wanted something that cut through nicely, because that's how I saw the violin. There was so much beauty, but then
I
the
see.
violin
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
is
The
still
focuses
so
and yeah.
central that and then I thought and then with the country connection as well. So
Very much. Yeah.
there we
Thank you.
go.
Well, that's a first for me, Nikka.
So yes, I mean it's not everywhere, but I feel like, the odd pub will have, when they're having Japanese whiskies, you might see that from time to time, and I think you could get it for a decent price. And then obviously in whiskey clubs like this.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now I have gone quite outlandish with some of the tasting
Okay.
here,
Great. Brilliant.
in that I really wanted to bring in some interesting things, because, as I said, you had such a range of music and some surprising stuff that I've never come across. And I think the one that I paired next was something that I remember most about. It was called Wax and Violence.
Oh wow. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
And it involves recordings, I think, of past cultures and things
Yeah.
like that, recorded on wax
Cylinders.
cylinders and things
Yes.
like
Yeah.
that, incorporated within the music. But then it's classical music.
Yeah.
And in this instance, it's someone singing from Tanzania, is it?
Southwest Africa,
Southwest.
possibly Namibia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
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 And this is probably the longest piece that we have chosen specifically for the podcast today. But the way it builds from that kind of historical singing extract to something so crazy and chaotic.
Yeah.
That was my most challenging
Yes.
task.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I guess I could have easily gone for something that was just pure peat and chaotic, with many flavors going on, and really gets to the depth of your palate and you're like, whoa. But I wanted something. I felt that this piece builds unexpectedly.
Very much.
In a
Yeah.
way.
Yeah. It's a punch. Definitely.
It's a real punch.
Yeah.
And in a moment, I do want you to tell me more about, when you came across this piece and why you chose it. So this whiskey, I'll talk more about it in a minute as well. But yeah, it took a while to find, because I don't find many whiskies that really give you, shall we say, more of a journey.
Yeah. Okay.
Such a journey.
Yes.
As
Yeah.
you're tasting it. But I won't
That's
say any more on
interesting.
that side of it until we try it. But
Yeah.
yeah. So tell me more about this piece, which is from a German composer.
It's a German composer with the he was born with the name Goebbels.
Yeah.
So he didn't change it. So Heiner Goebbels, he's a director as well as a composer, and he's staged a lot of Louis Andriessen cage operas, very alternative, very imaginative, just incredibly intelligent human being.
Yeah.
I can't say that I've been drawn to his music previously. I find that magpie approach. He travels a lot and collects a lot of music from around the world. And I felt that this piece in the last 5 years has been a highlight for me. I remember hearing it live. It was streamed during the pandemic when the premiere happened. So I heard the Ensemble Intercontemporain or Ensemble Moderne premiere online, and it's just he uses music. It's a 3-part composition. The piece that I've chosen is probably most accessible
Ah,
of the
okay.
whole
Right.
hour and a half of music.
wow.
You're supposed to sit through the whole thing and just listen and immerse yourself. There's a lot of references, music from the Caucasus, music from South America. This piece uses extracts from Southwest Africa, which was colonized by Germany, and it was a very violent time for the area, which he acknowledges. So I think historically, it's an important statement that he makes. And what I find in this work is that you have the traditional music, then you have this great struggle, which he represents as a almost free jazz section, constantly with a drum beat kind of underneath that. So lots of layers, lots of thoughts, and it could be quite chaotic, but actually it just zones in on a really sort of poignant, quiet ending.
Yeah.
So, but the whole work, I think, is for anyone interested in new music. This has been my go-to for the past 5 years of real
Even
standout.
standalone listening to this, the way it builds so slowly, but you have something that's chaotic but rhythmical. I think the more times I listen to it, the more I now know it's going to come, and I kind of enjoy that moment as the drums build, and then you've got the unexpected silence, which is still always unexpected at the very end of the piece.
It's a poignant and really important
it's
work.
powerful, so as I said, it was something that was interesting to try and pair, and so again I kind of went for something that was influenced by or got links to a whiskey that I love that is a peaty whiskey. So it's called Kalila, which is from Islay in Scotland. So it's one of the peaty whiskies I really like, and I'll show everyone the bottle here. But it's from an independent bottler called Fragrant Drops. And actually, it's
love the
run.
bottle. I mean, I know we're not supposed to look at the bottle.
Yeah, no. Well,
like
it's run by this independent bottling company by an old manager of the Soho Whisky Club that we are in, George Keeple. I used to know him really well, and he runs it with his partner Rachel, who is also a regular member of the Whisky Club going back. So what is also really interesting from the picture, which is on here as well, is actually a picture of
the bar. Oh my God.
At the Soho Whisky Club. Yeah. So like if I show you again. There we go. And also Crazy Link, and actually I just saw him making coffee earlier in the background. It's actually painted by one of the staff here as well.
Really?
Max Panks painted this to be put on their label. So it is intrinsically linked.
This is very much of this place.
But
amazing.
George and Rachel create some really, really interesting whiskies. So as an independent bottler, they'll take casks of different whiskies from different distillers and things like that, and then they will craft their own whiskies, so finish them in their own way. So this one is from Kalila. I think it's a Kalila 12-year-old, and it's been finished in Sauternes barrique, so sweet wine. So it's been finished in sweet wine.
Incredible.
Yeah. So I guess I don't want to influence too much.
Yeah.
In terms of mentioning too many things, other than I have mentioned Islay, which is a particular island with some strong whiskies. But I think we should just go in and slowly taste. And I'll be really fascinated in this one, because this one was quite a find when I tried this.
I'll take a sip of water just to cleanse the palate.
I have water in the background as well, if you feel it's a little bit. Okay, so anyway, let's look at the colour first. I mean, I think it's a nice gold.
I'm impressed by how you've kind of gradated.
I mean, exactly. It's definitely great. And then let's see. Now, I mean, I think
beautiful. It's like an old port, white port kind of.
Yes, yeah. But interestingly, it's quite light. The legs are there, but it feels slightly lighter somehow, which is interesting. Okay. Yeah.
And it's oilier than the Japanese. It kind of Oh wow. Smoky and peaty.
Yep. I've got vanilla as well, so it's very confusing.
Oh, wow.
I get a big hit of vanilla, but then you can smell it's like a smoke fire. Yeah.
Wow. I remember it was Priya Mitchell, the violinist, who introduced me to like single malt whiskies for the first time. And I remember the first time I smelled a peaty whiskey. I thought, oh my God, is that petrol? What is it?
So this one I definitely would like you to try a little
Mm-hmm.
and hold it in your mouth.
Okay.
And then we can talk about afterwards how how the flavor develops.
I'll be thinking of the piece
Yeah,
as well.
I'm thinking the piece. I hope you. Well, yes. For me, I thought just a perfect match for how I guess the piece unfolded for me, especially when I heard it the first time.
So interesting. I got a puff of smoke within the first few seconds. I can smell and taste that it's smoky, but there's almost like an extra puff of smoke when you first.
Yeah, I think for me, there is a real warmth and enjoyment to it. It's very rounded. It's almost very butterscotch-y on the palate for a lot of it. There's a little bit of smoke in the background, but especially with the first time I tried it all. I was like, okay, whoa, this is strong. And then somehow at the very end, there was suddenly just literally brine or peat on its own. So it's like you weren't expecting it. It's like, whoa, where did that come from? And then the final part was just smoke on the back of the throat. And I was like, whoa, I wasn't expecting that.
It's really delicious, actually.
Yeah.
I'm not a great fan of very peaty whiskey.
Oh, okay.
But this, it's very well balanced. It doesn't feel like it's heavy.
Yeah. I'm definitely less of a fan of the, I suppose, more straightforward. I mean, very well known whiskies that I sometimes think get a little bit too medicinal in their use of peat. So Lefroy 12 probably not my favorite, but I think there are some whiskies that play around with peat in a way that just adds more to it.
Yeah.
To balance.
I mean, it's still got the punch.
Oh yes.
It's present and very individual, but then it doesn't. That's not what I'm left with as an impression of the whiskey.
Yeah. But there's something just for me, it shifts at some point, and sometimes I get more of that peat.
Yes, yeah. And it's interesting because I'm looking at the things that I understand, which is the percentage.
Ah, yes.
It's stronger than the Japanese whiskey.
I mean, this is 55% volume, so it's quite a strong one, yes.
But I feel that the Japanese feels stronger.
Yeah.
Is that maybe because it was aged in?
I guess it's partly the way. I mean, that's such a big variety in whiskies, and there are often ones that I try that are cask strength, more like 55 to even 58, 59. But they're so well rounded, or there's something that's the warmth of the flavor that me personally, I don't feel like I need to add water, and I can taste something that's 45%, and I'm like, oh, that's a bit harsh. And sometimes it's more about how the alcohol maybe is cutting through against the flavor, and then how that hits your throat and your stomach. Yeah. So, yeah. I mean, do you want any water for this one, or are you good?
I think I'm good. Actually, yeah. I wouldn't dilute anything.
Yeah. That's good.
I mean, what's your stand on just having a drop?
Yeah, well, sometimes I do feel like a whiskey can be so punchy, or I'm needing something. I will add a drop or two, but I do get nervous because it does then completely alter the flavor profile. Yeah. So if you've got a whiskey that is tasting quite nice, and I like that, can soften it too much and then lose, because it changes direction of the flavor sometimes, I think. But if I feel like it really needs it, I would. But I don't think this one does, because I like the way that the peat come in at the end, even if it is a bit of a sharp note at the last bit. I kind of like that because of everything else that comes before. But it's quite interesting to try and think how a sweet wine comes into this being finished in that and adds to the flavor.
Yeah. I wonder whether that's part of the roundness of the.
Yeah, I think it must have something to do it.
And it's not too sweet.
No. Well, yeah. I mean, that's the one thing I guess I haven't totally done yet. So I am mostly picking whiskies that I like to drink.
Please, yeah. Now I'm learning. It's great. Yeah. Oh, and the name of the piece is A House of Caol.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, I'm not sure I mentioned it. It's A House of Caol, which was a Victorian, the markets during Victorian times where craftspeople would go and display their whatever they were doing, and maybe they were a carpenter, and then someone would say, "Oh, I like what you're doing. Come and do something in my house." So it's someone that just sort of shows everything that they do. So I guess it was.
Could have a little more of that, but maybe I'll save it. So I think that then leaves only one piece. So by process elimination, you might guess what the last one is.
Yeah.
And you chose some Schubert.
Schubert Fantasie in C major. Yeah, it's a notoriously difficult piece for the violin. I love the first movement just because of the melody. Also, it was premiered by a violinist called Josef Slavik that my grandparents used as to name my father.
Oh, really?
My dad's name is Slavik. So there's a little family connection. And I used that opening melody in my Fantasie homage to Schubert.
Oh, I didn't know that.
That's coming out on the ECM album of my music. So I just thought that would be
nice link.
a nice link for this as well. So
yeah, it's lovely. And I think he wrote in the last year of his life or something like that. So he wrote that later on, didn't he? But yeah, again, you see, what I was finding across a lot of the music, as I was saying earlier, is the violin, because in this movement with the shimmering piano, again, the way the violin cuts through is intense but delicate, but very focused. And so how can I decide what to pair with a very well-known composer?
Yes.
So this time I thought I would push the boat out in choosing a very, very well-respected distillery in Scotland, which has now got a massive reputation. And I've chosen the Springbank 15. Now, for some people who like their whiskey, they might know that this one is actually, I think nowadays, hard to get hold of. I think it's partly because Springbank is still independently owned rather than with a major distributor. So they don't produce as many bottles. So when they get sold out, they're hard to get hold of. So it is more expensive, but it's a good one to taste. It's got a real full-blooded flavour. And again, I'm very lucky. We're hosted by the Soho Whisky Club here. They happen to have quite a full bottle,
yes,
which is useful. But let me show the bottle. But this one, this is going back to only 46%. So we are perhaps going away from the peat and something else. But I thought for something that's so seasoned, and I don't drink it that often because it's not that cheap, but I remember it being really, really well rounded. And I guess, Schubert, composer that's, everyone knows the name of from so many different places. I wanted to choose something which just felt like part of an institution. And I feel like Springbank now is.
It's interesting when you sent me the way that the podcast works, and one of your questions was which whiskey would you choose for a special event, and even before knowing that you'd choose a Springbank, because I was trying to get one for a friend's birthday, and I just couldn't find even like a 10-year-old Springbank anywhere. So that was my thing. So to get a 15-year-old. And I've never tried it before, so I'm very, very excited.
So I suppose we should continue with our tasting method. So I guess I'm continuing with the gradient in colour. This one maybe jumps a bit further, a bit quicker.
Very much, yeah.
Yes. I should.
This is like a toffee, delicious, wonderful, rich colour.
Yeah,
beautiful
really
colour.
Yeah, really rich. I think it might be finished in sherry.
Ah, okay, yeah.
Because that will have a massive effect on the colour. Yeah. But it is its original colour. There's no artificial colouring or anything like that.
Oh, it's got slightly those kind of ridgy legs, like the Japanese, a little bit.
Yes.
Just a little bit.
I see that. Yeah. A little bit more spread out, I think.
But still nice and oily.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, toffee or burnt sugar. Something.
This will probably be the sweetest of the bunch in some ways, but yeah, definitely I'm always getting Quality Street and things like that.
Yes.
When I think it's remotely sweetness or some kind of Christmas cake. Sometimes.
And still a little smoky, but it's not too strong. Yes. Yeah, oh my goodness, I got a completely different whiff of the other one.
Well, that's the other thing. Sometimes
just comparing
keeping the whiskey open, there's more oxidation that happens that can change it, or having just tasted some before and then going back. you pick up different notes, which is why I tell people not to finish it all in one go.
Interesting. But I wonder whether that's because I've just, my
Yeah.
nose has inhaled
Yeah, no, I
this,
think,
and then
yes.
I'm
Yeah.
yeah, because now all of these smell much sweeter than they did before. How interesting.
So probably, maybe your senses get affected by.
Yeah. Can we try it?
Yes.
Mm. Oh, that's so delicious. Wow. And it's so warming.
Yeah.
I mean, it's strong, but it's
a stronger one. I mean, it's fun, but again, going back to ABV, considering that one's 55 and that one's 43, 46, even, isn't that mad?
Yeah.
Like, a 9 percentage difference.
I don't see how, like, those two,
yeah,
to me are the strongest, feel stronger, and that's incredible.
Yeah.
Well, people know what they're doing.
I mean, this one just, for me, there's so much butterscotch and smoothness to it, but not in a blended whiskey way, but in just really well crafted.
Okay, I get why people are after it.
Yeah,
yeah,
peppery finish.
Yes, yeah, definitely.
Get that? Yeah.
And that smokiness that you smell is just like a very vague somewhere in the background.
Yeah,
really,
I mean, yes,
nowhere near.
No. I think this one is really the only true peaty one, but that's where I was. I guess in terms of my ordering of the whiskies, I kind of felt like I didn't want to finish with just a peaty one. I think that's too obvious, but I wanted to find something that was strong enough and powerful enough,
very much,
to be able to drink after that. Which
it can
I think,
definitely stand up to that one. Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, and I think that's so good. So before we go on to trying them all again and talking about which one's our favourites, and make sure you don't forget which order.
I've got them in order. I'm a seasoned connoisseur.
So the music you've chosen, I guess, are influences and things that you've become interested in over many years of listening to music. But for you as a composer, I'd love to know, what are you up to over the next few years? As I said, this podcast might be coming out not immediately.
Yeah. So
I'd love to know some exciting things coming up beyond the album we've talked about a little bit.
Yeah. There's a few albums coming out, that's what I'm working on in the next few months and years. Just recording projects. So one of them we're recording in Latvia with the Riga Sinfonietta.
Oh, lovely.
So that's probably going to come out in quite a few years' time, because before then there's another album of chamber music which is coming out, and then writing lots of music.
Wow,
lots of
well, I mean,
projects.
recording music's so important, so more people can get to hear what you're writing.
Yes.
But it's getting harder to get the finances to,
especially with classical music, because it's so many people involved. It's not just a trio in a room. You need the acoustics, you need the time, the space, the rehearsals. So it's a really big investment.
It's exciting. I look forward to hearing them, that you've got so much coming up. So now back to the whiskey as well. One question I ask, though maybe I know the answer to it now, the way we've been just talking about everything. What has been your favourite whiskey this afternoon?
I think you might be surprised, because I'm the Springbank.
Springbank. Springbank.
The Springbank is very impressive, but I know that I probably wouldn't be able to drink that every day. I thought the first was very impressive.
Yes.
Maybe because I'd like to now try it again after all of this and see how it stands up to all of these very complex.
Well, I suppose let's do that now. So let's have a sip of them all, and then think about whether tasting them all right next to each other, whether that still is your view. Yes.
I mean, that could change, because I loved all of the choices. I thought that they go with the music, but beyond that, I think they were just really delicious, all of them.
And I think that's what I love about whiskey, really, is that the variety and the possibilities are almost endless. The variations and what you can do with whiskey is fascinating and really exciting.
I mean, drink this every day.
That still tastes great, to be honest. Oh, I'm making way as well.
it's so mild. I mean, maybe it's too mild for a lot of people, but as someone who doesn't know a great deal,
Yes, yeah.
I was really impressed by it. And I'm gonna try the
Going back to the Nikka coffee grain. I mean,
Oh, that
I
smells
do. I
so
just love. I love the
delicious.
smell. I
It
think
smells so
I could have
delicious.
that on my potpourri or something like that. Yeah, definitely.
Oh, I could drink that every day as well.
I do think. Well, I'm trying to think. I don't know how easy it is to get the Linkwood. It probably is all right if you go to
Because I know that
Whisky Exchange, something like that.
probably those three, I'd have a really difficult time trying to source them.
Yeah.
Which is why I went.
Yeah, I feel like
something
this
that I
one,
thought-
oddly, maybe not as much as you think, because people are stocking Japanese whiskies now, and it's a lighter option. I mean, Nikka from the barrel is probably the better known of the Nikka whiskies, and it's in a square oblong thing. But I think if you, I feel like just this one edges it out for me, and possibly
The smell, like
yeah.
you say, is absolutely
But I mean, this one will be much harder to get hold of. There are far fewer bottles, but this one's very unusual. This one I find actually, the more I smell it later, it has almost a very strange aroma. I almost feel like I'm tasting something damp.
Yes, yeah.
Like damp laundry or something, but then smoked damp laundry. That makes sense. But the flavor is fascinating.
Yes, definitely. In terms of like the peaty whiskies, I'm not sure I've tasted anything better than that. Not that I have such a vast knowledge, but it's so complex and strong, but not too punchy.
Yeah. But yeah, still the end of the flavor always surprises me, because a lot of peaty whiskies, you get that smoke and the peat, and it just stays there. But this one somehow goes sideways and it's got the peat that goes buttery.
Actually, that's edging toward, that's coming towards a number one now.
Oh, oh gosh!
If we're here another half an hour,
yeah, well. And yes, I mean, I think Springbank generally, as a distillery, they're doing really well at the moment in terms of producing great whiskies. I think for me, I'm torn between the Fragrant drops and the Linkwood.
Exactly, absolutely, exactly the same. Exactly the same.
Yeah.
Special occasion, Fragrant drops.
Yeah.
Every day.
Yeah.
Linkwood.
I like that. I think we'll stick with that. Okay. So the other question I ask as well is, and you were touching upon it a minute ago, what was your favorite pairing of the music to the whiskey this afternoon?
Oh, well, I'm really grateful that you did a Japanese whiskey. I thought that was really wonderful. So thank you, because I don't really, that was really nice. In terms of the music and the whiskey, possibly the Schubert. I thought.
Yes,
the Springbank and the Schubert, I just think was great. Although Fragrant drops also very, very close. Yeah.
Okay. Well, the other question, which actually you touched upon earlier, and I think maybe I want you to reframe your answer slightly, or think bigger about it. So I ask this every time, and I'll say that now. So, what is the musical high note you are still chasing in your career, and what kind of whiskey do you imagine you'll pour yourself on the day you reach it? So, whether you stick with a whiskey that you've already mentioned, or whether you
maybe one of these.
But first of all, is there something that, maybe very far off in the future, or in your imagination more at the moment, something you really want to achieve, or you would know would be a highlight for you?
I think the older you get, the more that you start to appreciate just consistency. So I think the kind of punchy, like, oh, I want to do an opera, I want to do that. I don't feel that need so much, as long as I can get some kind of a body of work that I'm generally content with, and I feel that it says something that I feel is honest and truthful to me, then I think.
So it's going to be hard to know when you're
exactly
there with that. But I think that's a lovely thing for other composers here, actually, because I think sometimes people think I have to get that piece, or that will mean I'm established.
Yes, yeah.
But I think the idea of getting a body of work and just being really solid across chamber music and orchestral music, or choral music, which I know you do all of. So
Yeah.
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 So what would the whiskey be that you would drink?
Oh,
And you can think beyond these.
yes. Well, the whiskey that I probably drink the most of
Yeah.
is probably quite a commercial thing, which is Highland Park.
Oh yes.
So that's the one that I'd probably just have in the house
Okay.
anyway.
Well, maybe you should up it to the Highland Park 18. Actually, I tried the Highland Park 21-year-old.
Oh wow!
Last week.
Okay.
That was very lucky. Being in the right place at the right time. There's also, if you're interested in Highland Park, the Valhalla range is hardest to get hold of, but worth looking at.
Okay.
So they have whiskies named around Thor, Freya, and different Norse
Okay.
gods.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think for a moment where maybe you're celebrating a compendium of albums
Yes.
coming
Yeah.
out
Yeah.
or something like that, I'd recommend put some money aside and take the Highland Park.
All right. Thank you. I'll call you. I'll get a
notch or two.
Thank you. Thank you.
So please subscribe,
amazing.
like,
I've learned
and
so
share
much,
today.
and you've just made such an amazing selection. I feel, yeah, it's been a great afternoon. Thank you.
Yes, well, thanks again, and well, I'm sure I'll see you soon.
I hope so.
Please drink and listen to classical music responsibly.